Hello, my name is Cheri Brunner Daschle, and I'm here today representing the Tread of Pioneers Museum. We are collecting oral interviews for a project called Tales of the Old Junior High. There will be interviews of staff, teachers, and administrators who worked at Steamboat Springs Junior High School on 7th Street in the 1970s, before Steamboat Springs Middle School was built on the Strawberry Park campus on Amethyst Street. Please tell me your name and what your connection is with the old junior high.
Okay. My name is Jean Labaree, and I was the PE teacher, physical education teacher at the old junior high from 1970 to 1979.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Clarendon Hills, Illinois, but I went to school in Greeley at University of Northern Colorado.
Was it University of Northern Colorado?
No, it was Colorado State College.
And what was your degree in, Jean?
Physical education.
How did you end up in Steamboat?
Well, I ended up in Steamboat a couple different ways. One, they had an opening for a PE teacher. And so, but also my husband Hud's parents lived here. And so I had come up to Steamboat to visit him and saw that I liked the community. And then it was a job opening and I applied for it.
Did you and Hud meet in college?
Yes.
Okay. What's his degree in?
His degree is in physical education too.
Really? What did he teach? He taught for a year, right?
Yeah, he didn't teach that. He taught, I think, geography or one of those. I think that was his minor.
And then moved from there directly to the power plant?
Yes. Well, yeah, pretty much. He was on the ski patrol.
Okay.
When we first were married, and then he, I think he taught maybe that first year. I can't remember. You know, it's been a long time.
Well, and we were just...
So I can't remember how this goes. If he taught right after, college, or if he worked at the ski hill and then taught a year, and then went to the power plant in 1975.
Wow.
So I'm not sure before that.
Well,
how the sequence went.
We were noticing that you had been married 55 years,
Yes.
which most of us figure we're not that old.
Well, sometimes I think I'm not that old too.
Did you coach at all when you were
Yes.
working there? What did you coach?
I coached girls basketball and girls track with Bob Harris. With the track, not with the basketball.
Well, yeah. I think he coached everything else, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sounds like. Tell us about some of your classes or your students. Anybody you keep in touch with anymore, or?
Well, I have a kind of a funny story. I play pickleball now, and I played with 60 and older group sometimes. And there's two gals came up to me afterwards and said, "We had you in PE." And I'm like, wow. And it was Della Quadri, a Della Quadri girl.
Winnie Delacour?
I can't remember which one, if it was Tracy. Was there Tracy?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Tracy, who was also playing pickleball with the 60 and older. So I thought, God, I am old. I must have had her that first couple of years I taught, because I was only right out of college.
Yeah.
She was in middle school, and so, but yeah.
Well, and if you're right out of college, you're around 26-ish, right?
I was 23.
You're 23, mm-hmm. And some of those kids were 12 or 13.
Yeah.
So, at the time, that seems like you're quite a bit older.
Yeah.
What do you remember about teaching PE down there?
Well, I remember the people. My Bob, of course, he was always fun to teach with. He was a character. And he was a disciplinarian in school. So all the kids, when they got in trouble, had to go to his office. We had our offices on the stage, on either side of the stage. And I remember I would have to sometimes go in and be like the other teacher that would, you know, I was like out of college and I was like, yikes, I don't want to run into this guy. So, you know, he would make them do crabs around, you know, walking. That was one of his punishments.
Explain crabs.
Well, crabs is walking on your hands and feet backwards. You know, and he would make those kids go around the gym. I don't know how many times. That was one of his punishments. But he was so good at finding out what exactly happened, because he would bring in kids, not as if there was a group of kids that were doing something wrong, he'd bring them in separately and interrogate them. So one of the kids would usually spill the beans on what's going on. So that's how he got down to he was a good questioning person.
Yeah, he was an investigator.
Yeah.
Right?
But we had fun. We had a good time.
So
but PE was a subject that middle school kids liked.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a lot of discipline problems. You know, they wanted to be there and doing stuff. So.
And you guys could be in the gym, or you could be outside, or
yeah.
Were there things that you liked best doing? As I'm sure it was seasonal.
Yeah, I liked, by the spring, I wanted to be outside as soon as I could. And, you know, a lot of times that was in May, you know.
Yeah.
But one year we got out there in April, and, you know, around the 1st of April. And that was, you know, kids were getting antsy, we wanted to get them outside doing stuff, so.
So he was teaching PE when you were teaching PE. Was he doing, and he was the disciplinarian, so was he part PE and part assistant principal maybe?
Yeah, I think he was, because I think Kelly Meek came in and taught maybe some afternoon classes. Mark Drake, the first, he only did that for a little bit. Then he went to the high school and, you know, did that.
Were there people you worked with that had a major impact on you when you worked there, or what did you
Well,
learn?
Bob was one, because I worked so closely to him. And Bud, you know, Bud Rudd.
Our principal.
The principal.
Yeah. How was your working relationship with him?
Good. You know, I have another story to tell about him. And this is kind of the relationship I had with him. Now, this wasn't my first year. This was probably down the road a little bit. But he comes down to the gym and he says, I'm going to evaluate you today. And, oh, by the way, there's donuts in the staff room. So I said, okay, and they were playing volleyball at the time. So I was just sitting there watching them play. So I wasn't involved with teaching so much. And so after he said there were donuts in the staff room, I said, okay, you watch the class. I'm going down to get a donut. And he still tells that story. And I say, well, it was your fault because you told me there were donuts in the staff room.
How'd your evaluation go?
Well, I don't even know if he evaluated me, to tell you the truth. And maybe that was the story. You know, I'm coming here to evaluate you, so. Yeah.
Who else do you remember working with?
Well, I worked with Mary Brazel. Mm-hmm. You know, she and I lived out of town in 1975, and she lived out of town with her first marriage, and we would drive to work together. So I know Mary and Sue McCarthy, that some of those, and Nancy Giannetti, who's now Nancy Hum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are people that kind of stand out for me.
Well, and everybody was so young. I mean, everybody
Yeah.
was like late 20s, early 30s.
You know, that was what was so special, because we were all in about the same age group. A lot of us didn't have kids yet. So you've probably heard stories of the parties we had as a group, and we had some wild ones, so let me just say this. But I look back on that and I go, gosh, nowadays we probably would have been fired.
Yeah, and I think Bert Svensson said something about there weren't too many places to go. You could go to the El Rancho, or you went to each other's home. And
Yeah, yeah. We had a good time, let's just say that.
well, and that made everybody close, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was just a happy staff.
Yeah,
we heard jokes about the size of the staff, not the workroom was large, but the size of the staff lounge.
right.
And somebody said, well, there were red benches, which is like, that's like enough to incite rioting, people having red benches.
Right, right.
I don't know, we had to be close in proximity too. What do you remember about the building itself, or working in that old building?
Well, I was in the gym, and there were a couple things I remember. One is we would, there were bleachers, and a lot of times I'd be sitting in the bleachers because I'd be observing my class, them playing volleyball or what have you. And there were, what do they call them? Silver fish, or those
The bugs?
bugs.
Yeah, bugs.
Bugs in the bleachers. That's one thing I remember, sitting there and seeing those things kind of crawling around. But I was down there a lot. The locker room was pretty,
Dingy.
not too nice.
Down underneath.
Yeah.
How about the custodians? What do you remember about our
Well,
custodians?
help me with the name. I like the custodians. Jim was one of them.
Jim Smith
Yeah,
and Tom Lundy,
yeah,
Dick Becker,
yeah.
and Cheek,
Well, a cheek.
one of the Cheek men.
Well, we got along, great with the custodians, and usually had a fun time with them, talking and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I remember good homemade meals out of the cafeteria.
Yeah.
It was just a fun place to work. What did you and your family, apparently you had kids not long after that, what did
No.
you and your family enjoy doing here in Steamboat in the 70s?
Well, I didn't have my first kid till I was 79. In 79, Lindsay was born in 79. That's why I quit. And actually, I asked them if they would share my job. I said, I can do it half-time and then watch, but they didn't want to do it in 79. I think they probably consider it now, but back then they didn't. But, as we skied. HUD was on the ski patrol, so we skied on the weekends and partied pretty much in my 20s.
Well, yeah. So you didn't teach at the middle school, you basically stopped at 79 and
Yeah, I stopped at 79 when I had Lindsay, and then I had Blair, my son, in 81, and then I got into the fitness field because it was such an easy transition being from PE to go into fitness. It was just easy to do.
via the Steamboat Springs
Yeah, I teach at two
The pool.
places. I teach at Steamboat Fit and the pool. And I've kind of done that since I've been here. And I enjoy it. And they have room for me. They haven't kicked me out yet, so.
and dance.
And I dance, yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I'm with the Steamboat Dance Theater, and I took dance as a kid because it's kind of a funny story. My mom died when I was 5 years old. And I grew up with 4 older brothers. I was the only girl and the littlest one. And so I was throwing a football around with, pretty early and doing boy things because that's what, my brothers. And my dad had remarried, and I think it was the woman he married said, we need to get Jeannie in something other than this boy stuff. And I was a tomboy. I mean, that's how I grew up, into sports, that's what I enjoyed. And so she says, I think we should get her into dance. and so I started dance when I was probably 7, 8, and I enjoyed it. It was another physical type thing for me to do, and I enjoyed it, and I just kept it up through high school, and then I quit when I went to college, and then I didn't dance again till my kids were a little, I'd had kids, and they were a little older, so it was a release for me to get away and do something for me.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Was there any dance when you were teaching PE at all?
Yeah, I did a what I called stick dancing, and I gave them a dowel, like a 3-foot dowel, and we would do music, and I think we did, I can't remember the song we did it to, but I choreographed a piece, and they could focus more on the stick than themselves. I did stuff with the stick, and so it was a little easier for them not to focus on themselves so much, but what the stick was doing. But it was somewhat of a dance type thing I did with them. And then some of them enjoyed it, some of the kids didn't. And then we did, Bob and I did square dancing. When we brought the boys and the girls together.
Yes.
And we did that. That was one of our units that we taught, was square dancing.
I do remember that. Are there things you miss about those times teaching and coaching?
Yeah, I miss, I enjoyed the relationship I had with kids and the relationship I had with the other teachers.
Yeah.
So.
It was a good thing. What do you see? Oh, I forgot one thing. So when you and Hud first moved here, where was your first home and how much did you pay for rent? Do you remember?
No. I'm trying to think what our first home. Oh, I lived, this was before we were married, because I came here single, and then Hud and I got married shortly after school started that first year in 1970. And I lived, Bud Root had an apartment next to Dorothy Wither, a studio apartment up there on Hilltop, kind of.
Okay.
And I rented that from Bud.
Okay.
For that first year, but then I wanted to get a dog. So, and Hud and I were married, so then we moved to a trailer, I think, in up by the high school. And we lived in there for a year, and then we lived in, Pinky Smith had an apartment in his basement. We lived there, and then we lived in, Hud's parents had an apartment above their garage, and we lived in there, and then we built our house in Whitewood, which is out of town, about 12 miles. And that's where Mary lived out there too with her first husband. So.
Do you remember what your salary was back in the day?
I think I started teaching, it was $18,000 in 1970. And I don't know if I can't remember if I got more for coaching. I might have. I don't remember.
Yeah, Bob said something about $200 a sport or something. And you're like,
I might have.
Not much.
No.
What do you think is good about Steamboat Springs and better now, not as good as it was then?
Well, Steamboat's still a special place, I think. you know. I mean, things have changed a lot since 1970s. But I think the people here are kind of special, I think. You know, the old people and the new people. Mm-hmm. You know, new people coming in. I just wish, you know, I'm afraid that Steamboat's getting to be where only the rich are going to be able to come in here.
Yeah.
And we need it. We need housing for our workforce, for our teachers, for our hospital staff. And I don't, you know, that was what's special, because, you know, we lived with the workers. You know, we were the workers.
We are the workers.
Yeah. You know, I don't want it to become an elite thing. And I'm afraid it's pushing that way. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with that. Any other funny stories you remember from?
Well, let's see. I do have a funny story about one of the Brunner kids. We were playing volleyball at the time, and he came out and he forgot to put his gym shorts on, but he had a long t-shirt on, so you really couldn't tell until he put his arms up like this over his head to get the ball, and some kid said, "Hey, you forgot to put your shorts on." And he looked down and runs out and runs back to the locker room and finds his shorts and puts them on. But that was kind of a funny story. And then, you know, the track meets we go to, sometimes the weather, you know, we'd be in the weather was nasty. And Bob and I would be out there on the field freezing, you know, and couldn't wait to get on the bus and go home. And then I do have a funny story on the bus. Of course I was on the girls' bus, and I usually sat in the front by the bus driver so I could talk to them. And I guess that there were some girls in the back that were mooning the cars behind them. But I didn't find that out till Monday.
And did you go clear to Rangeley?
Yes, we'd go to Rangeley.
That was a long drive.
That was a long drive. And back in the 70s, it wasn't, you know, 75 or, you know, the speed limit was,
55.
it took us probably 4 hours, or almost 3.5, 4 hours to get there.
So for a track meet, you had to be there in the morning.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun
Yeah.
to get up at crack of dawn or before the dawn, get on the bus with a bunch of middle school kids.
Yes. Anything else you remember about that time?
Well, it was a fun time. I enjoyed myself a lot. With as I said, with the teachers and with the students we had, you know, some of them were pretty special. So,
Yeah.
and I've got to know some of them, you know, as adults. As you know, they still call me Mrs. Labaree. Mrs. Labaree. I said, you can call me Jean. You don't need to call me Mrs. Labaree. They go, well, that's hard. So, but that's
Well, we thank you.
okay. Was that good?
Yes, and I'm
Okay.
also supposed to ask you for the record. Is it okay if we share this with the museum
Yes.
for posterity?
You can share with whoever.
Okay. Thank you, Jean.
Yeah.